So, good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well and preparing for mains, maybe APSC, right? So, or whoever is preparing for the UPSC examination, UPSC Civil Services examination, maybe you guys are having your preparation at your peak, right? So, let's discuss the 22nd of September Assam Tribune newspaper articles. Not wasting any time, let's move on to the articles, or let's move on to the discussions, right? Okay, yeah. So today we will be discussing the 22nd of September Assam Tribune newspaper articles. And before the discussion, I would like to mention the we have our free intensive module is going on for APSC and UPSC examinations, civil CSC examination, civil service examination, right? And it is actually it was till 20th, but it is extended, and you can, because of various reason actually. So, but you can register through this number and through this link also, right? And in the description box, we have given all the details about this initiative. So then let's move on to the articles. What article will be covering? The first article, the only article actually we'll be covering today, that is AUKUS, that is AUKUS. We will be discussing about it. Will not have any impact on Quad, that is India side. That is the article we will be covering. Then we have our editorial also. One editorial is very much important from the exam point of view. That is climate change and food security. It is very much important from your environment, from your biodiversity part. That means general studies paper 3. Okay, so it is very much important, and you have to know about these things. It is very much important from your mains point of view. Okay, for your content, right, and your perspective also. How climate change is causing different sort of problems, and we're discussing the food security today, right? So let's move on to the article discussion. The article will be the AUKUS will not, AUKUS actually will not have any impact on Quad, right? I've discussed about these things also, but we will discuss in details, right? So it is very much important from your general studies paper 2, that is international relation, right? So why it is in news? Because India on Tuesday said that the trilateral military treaty among Australia, UK, US, that means Australia, right, A, then UK, right, then US, AUKUS, you can say, or Australia, UK, and US. That means, so these three countries they have a trilateral military treaty, right, and was not, according to India, it is not was not very relevant from its perspective, and also does not have an impact on functioning of Quad. We will discuss about it. Quadrilateral uh, framework. We will discuss about it also, right? So then, AUKUS was a military alliance of the three nations, and India was not a part of this alliance, right? So that is the news. That is the whole news. Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, Inasri. I hope you guys. Yeah, Inasri, have you been able? Yeah. So, did you appear in the APSC prelims examination? So if you have, then the APSC is very much into, like, they will, from my sources actually, they will release the results very soon. So as soon as they releases the result, they will also, I hope, right? I'm hoping that mains will also be conducted very soon. So please focus on mains too, and they have provided the answer keys, right, in their website also. Yeah, sure. So yeah, okay, sure, yeah, don't worry. And how much are you getting? And you can also comment in that. Okay, whatever. Then what is Quad? It is a four-nation alliance, okay, of India, Australia, USA, and Japan. Okay, India, Australia, USA, and Japan. And what is AUKUS? That means Australia. It is Australia. Then comes the UK and USA. Okay, please remember these things. In Quad, India, Australia, US, and Japan is the member. This is a four-nation alliance. Okay, which was established in 2007. Okay, which is established in 2007. It is often dubbed as an Asian or mini NATO. We were discussing about the NATO and NATO alliance, etc., etc. Well, in very details, and you can, if you are not familiar with, you can also see the prelims booster where we are covering that before the APSC prelims. In that, we have discussed about the organizations, right? International organizations, right? So you can also see in that video in the details, right? Yeah, sorry. So then the it is often said as it is an Asian or mini NATO and is viewed as a counterbalance to China's military and economic expansion in the Indo-Pacific region. Right? It is actually it was formed. It was an informal grouping at that time, and then it was formed because it was formed to counter the China's hold in the Indo-Pacific region. So China বহুত বেছি হোল্ড আছে না হোল্ড আছে ৰাইট সো যিখিনি এৰিয়াত যিখিনি ইণ্ডো পেচিফিক এৰিয়া যিখিনি চাইনাৰ হোল্ড আছে ন তো সেইখিনি এৰিয়াত একচুৱেলি কি হৈছে these countries are feeling some sort of uh, defense problem as well as they think right these countries a country বিলাকে যেনেকে ইণ্ডিয়া অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়া US তো বহুত দূৰৰ বাৰু still US has interest in these countries or interest in these areas because trade হয় right then economic cooperation থাকে so these countries are neighboring countries or you can say Indo-Pacific ocean থাকে তো থাকাৰ কাৰণে কি হৈছে they have a problem with China because China has the debt policy, a debt trap, you can say. Then they have the China-Pakistan economic corridor and Belt and Road Initiative. So these things are creating problem for the other countries also. So that is why Quad formed. The major aim of the formation was to view, or you can say to have an eye on China's military and economic expansion in the Pacific region, right? So that is the major aim of that grouping. The 2020 US China Economic and Security Review Commission shows China's growing power projection along the Indian Ocean rim with military economic activities in countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka. See, in that case, Pakistan's economy is very much supported by the China. Then Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, why Sri Lanka? Because Sri Lanka was in a very much a depth of China, and they had to lease out their Hambantota port, right? Hambantota port to China for 99 years of lease, right? Then Maldives, then Myanmar, then Bangladesh. As you all know, Bangladesh has a very much growth in their economy in recent times. In some report also, the per capita income of Bangladesh is more than India in some report. But why this is happening? This is happening because of China's effect on Bangladesh or because China's market for Bangladesh, right? China opened their market somehow to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is producing their material, their product and selling not only in not only in Bangladesh, not only in China, but UK, US also. Please remember these things. If you have any friend in US or UK, you can ask them the products, whatever they're written in that, they says that that the marking on it that made in Bangladesh. So various things are happening in that. So Bangladesh growth, economic growth is very expanding, right? So interestingly, the Quad, which used to known as a quadrilateral security dialogue, is now known as the quadrilateral framework to indicate it has gone beyond narrow security dialogue. Initially, it was a security dialogue, it was a security alliance, okay, initially. But when China is not only focusing on military expansion, they are also focusing on the economic expansion. Then what they did, the quadrilateral security dialogue became the quadrilateral framework, right? They are now focusing on not only military expansion, they're eyeing on, I mean, they're, I mean, just keeping an eye on, but they're also keeping an eye on the economic expansion of China right now, right? So let's move. The evolution, the group which began with an ambitious geostrategic vision 14 years ago, failed to take off initially due to the hesitation among the four nations, objections by China and objections by China. See, in that case, USA, India, Australia, and Japan, these countries have economic as well as military as well as social, you can say, cooperation, right? But in initial stage of Quad, it was very much problematic to bring these four countries in one table, है ना? So, and then because it has the aim to, you can say, keep an eye on China's expansion, that triggered China, and China objected on it, right? In December 2012, Shinzo Abe against floated the concept of Asia's democratic security diamond, involving Australia, India, and Japan and USA to safeguard the maritime commons from the Indian Ocean to Western Pacific, right? In November 2017, India and US, Australia, and Japan gave shape to the long pending Quad coalition to develop a new strategy. Ultimately কি হৈছে ষ্টাৰ্টিঙত কি হ'ল ষ্টাৰ্টিঙত এনেকা হ'ল যে গোটেইখন কাণ্ট্ৰিয়ে কোনোবা এখন ধৰি লোৱা সাৰ্কৰ মিটিঙত হওক বা তোমাৰ যিকোনো মিটিঙতে হওক, maybe they started talking about it, right? But initially to form quad was very, I mean, it was not formed easily, right? So recently in November 2017, the strategic cooperation between these countries are happening, right? Since then, Quad has taken several steps to bolster the military and strategic ties with series of working and ministerial level meeting, right? Then participation in Malabar exercise. In 2020, all four Quad countries like Japan, India, Australia, and USA took part in Malabar exercise. Please remember these things. Malabar exercise was a very, Malabar exercise too saw as the next level of that Quad grouping, right? Malabar exercise is an annual trilateral naval exercise between navies of India, Japan, USA, which is held alternately in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, right? Then AUKUS grouping. That means Australia, UK, and US. Okay. Then focusing on Indo-Pacific, the security grouping AUKUS will focus on advancing strategic interest in the Indo-Pacific region. Though the US has explicitly denied that the grouping is targeted against China, right? US denied that thing. They explicitly denied that they grouping to, they AUKUS grouping to, সেইটো China target কৰি পেলাইহে বনাইছে এনেকা নহয়, because what happened in Quad, that was seen that they saw that, right? They saw that when it is completely against the one agenda, it has some backlashes also. Its Indo-Pacific orientation makes it an alliance against China's assertive action in the South China Sea. এইটো কথা আমি ডিসকাস কৰিছিলো, South China Sea, right? South China Sea, you have discussed about it. South China Sea, Guadal Parasil Island, then Spartley Island, we have discussed about it, this thing in the current affairs also only, right? The three countries along Canada, New Zealand already share extensive intelligence to the Five Eyes Alliance. মই সেইটো ডিসকাস কৰিম বলো Five Eyes Alliance কি বস্তু. Then transferring nuclear submarines to Australia. As part of the initiative, Australia will acquire nuclear powered submarines with help from UK and US. The step is significant because the US has only shared nuclear submarine technology once before, and it started in 1958 with Great Britain. So it is a very much initiative. It is a very great initiative, we would say, right? Nuclear submarines that are quite right, they doesn't make much sound than their conventional counterparts, but also more capable of being deployed for long periods and needing to surface less frequency. Alongside India's stated intent to acquire more nuclear power submarines, it will amount to a step change increase in the Quad, right? Quad undersea and anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Quad is a grouping of India that I was discussing. Let's move. Then Australia is now set to join the elite group of only 6 countries: India, US, UK, France, Russia, and China, that operate nuclear power submarines. It will also be the only country to have such submarines without having a civilian nuclear power industry. Right? These are important things. Okay, these are important from your. I won't say after looking at after seeing at the APSC prelims paper, I won't say it is very much important from your APSC, but it is very much important from UPSC point of view. But it can be used in the mains, by the way, in the APSC also. Okay, these things are contents, right? These contents can be used in the mains examination. Multi-sectoral cooperation occurs will also picture of meeting and engagements between the 3 countries, right? So these are important. Then Five Eyes Alliance. The Five Eyes Alliance is an intelligence sharing arrangements between 5 English-speaking democracies. Remember these things, English-speaking I said, so NA monetizable, right? Then first is US, UK, Canada, then Australia, and then New Zealand, right? So these things are NA monetizable now, right? So English-speaking countries বুলি ক'লে US, UK থাকিব, Canada লগ কৰি দিয়া US ৰ লগত, Mexico নধৰিবা, then Australia আছে কাষত কাৰণ ক্ৰিকেট চিকেট তো এনেকৈ চাই থাকা, right? So then New Zealand, তো এনে মনত থাকি যাব। ইণ্ডিয়া ইংলিছ স্পিকিং নহয় দেই কিন্তু, ঠিক আছে, জাষ্ট ট্ৰাই কৰি আছো চবে এনেকুৱা বস্তু, right? So then the alliance was created during the Cold War in 1946-1991 that was fought between the United States and the Soviet Union. আৰু এইখিনি বস্তু কোল্ড ৱাৰ এইবিলাক বস্তু তোমালোকে ৱৰ্ল্ড হিষ্ট্ৰীত পঢ়িবা এনেও, right? World history এনেও পঢ়িবা, Cold War, World War, right? You will read these things. The alliance was needed to share sensitive information regarding their adversaries on all possible fronts available. It is often described as the world's most successful intelligence alliance, right? The Five Eyes Alliance. It is considered as the most successful intelligence alliance, right? Then it is very much important that these alliances are making, you can say, security of the whole world better in that case. So let's move. Then we have the editorial, that is climate change and food security, right? The editorial talks about that the latest report. It talks about the latest report only, right? Climate change released, latest report on climate change released by IPCC. এইটো মানে এইটোৰ ফুল ফর্ম মোক কোৱাচোন কমেন্টত প্লিজ মোক কবা হা মই পিছত কম বাৰু on August 9 last has sent a chilling sensation globally. One of the repercussions will be on food security. That means that whole article is talking about climate change keneka effect korise, kenekwa effect amar life humans or life kenekwa effect korise, aru tare main effect in that article they have discussed the food security, and that will cause the socio-economic turmoil as well, right? Food security kotha jetia koise, and they have also discussed how that will impact the socio-economic conditions of people's life, right? At a global level, then IPCC full form nokola no ekuna IPCC full form is a intergovernmental panel on climate change, IPCC. Okay, at the global level, food security first came under the threat during 1960s when against the stagnation in food production. এইখিনি বস্তুত কি আছে মই তোমাক কৈ দিছো ভালকে যেতিয়া তোমাৰ 1960 প্ৰথমবাৰ তাৰমানে ফুড সিকিউৰিটি there is a global level প্ৰথমবাৰ ফুড সিকিউৰিটিৰ প্ৰবলেম হৈছিলে, ৰাইট? ফুড সিকিউৰিটি কথা ফাৰ্স্ট 1960s ত মানুহ এটা ভাবিছিলে কি ফুড সিকিউৰিটি নোহোৱা হৈছে, খাবলৈ বস্তু নোহোৱা হৈছে, ৰাইট? In 1960 they first time that felt, right? People felt that. Then 1960s সেইখিনি সময়তে কি হল 1960s এতিয়া এইটো বস্তু প্ৰবলেম এটা গম পালে যে ফুড সিকিউৰিটিৰ প্ৰবলেম আছে, ষ্টাৰ্ট হৈছে। দেন সেইখিনি সময়তে 1960s 70s এটা বিৰাট ডাঙৰ বস্তু হৈছিলে ফৰ হিউমেন আমাৰ পইণ্ট অফ ভিউৰে, ঠিক আছে? হিউমেনছ পইণ্ট অফ ভিউ কি হৈছিলে তেতিয়া হৈছিলে গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশ্যন। অ'কে, চ' গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশ্যনে সেইখিনি সময়ত not only India but also all of the world যি ইম্পেক্ট কৰিলে, তাৰপিছত কি হ'ল ফুড সিকিউৰিটিৰ প্ৰবলেমটো কমি গ'ল। মানে মানুহৰ খাবৰ কাৰণে আফটাৰ গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশ্যন ফুড এণ্ড ফেচিলিটিজ আহি গ'ল, ৰাইট? The green revolution, which commenced around the same time that I was talking about, right? The article saved the world from possible catastrophe, right? নহলে তো মারামারি লাগিলে হয়, ঠিক আছে? Yeah, intergovernmental panel on climate change, yeah, right. নহলে তো মারি দিলে হয় মানুহ, ঠিক আছে? তো আৰু এখন ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়ার হলে হয় যদি গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশ্যন নহলে হয়। তো একচুয়ালি কি হৈছিলে ফুড সিকিউৰিটিৰ প্ৰবলেমটো যেতিয়া প্ৰথমবাৰ তেতিয়া দেখা পাইছিলে ন 1960s, দেন you can say it is a after effect, cause and effect, you can say that is the you can say cause and effect how green revolution started. So then ki hol eta green revolution ahar pisot ki hol, then people have the food to eat, right? But the golden days of green revolution is over. According to the article, golden days of green revolution are over now. Since the mid 1990s globally, the area under cultivation saturated. তাত কি কৈছে যে 1990s পিছৰ পৰাই, ৰাইট, কাল্টিভেশ্যনৰ কাৰণে যিখিনি মাটি আছে, ৰাইট, সেই মাটি কমি যাব ধৰিছে। why? That is a why because the expansion of population, है ना? expansion of population হোৱাৰ কাৰণে লাহে লাহে কি হৈছে কাল্টিভেশ্যনৰ কাৰণে যিখিনি এৰিয়া থাকিব, খেতি বাতিৰ কাৰণে যিখিনি এৰিয়া থাকিব, এইখিনি কমি যাব ধৰিলে। Since 1990s, while food production at the national or international level stagnated or marginally increased occasionally despite the government's claim to the contrary, right? Today, food security is under a grave threat from mainly two factors, right? That is the expansion of population expansion, and global warming, which is fallout of climate aberrations. Eta mon manar eta kotha kau je recently Assamoto eneka situation ta hoise, drought situation, right? Newspaper paisa sage, but যদি পঢ়িছা অলপমান চকু ফুৰাইছা তেতিয়া পাবা চাগে যে এইটো সিচুৱেশ্যন অলপ অসমতো দেখা দিছে, কিন্তু যিটো গৰম অসমত হৈ আছে ন ৰিসেন্টলি ইন ৰিসেন্ট টাইম, it is the effect of climate change. Please remember these things. September মাহ এতিয়া অক্টোবৰ পাবহি আৰু অক্টোবৰ পালে আৰু অলমোষ্ট পূজাৰ সময়ত আগতে আজিৰ পৰা 5-6 বছৰ আগতে কেনেকা হৈছিলে আৰু এতিয়া চোৱা, এতিয়া বৰষুণ দিলে ঠাণ্ডা পৰে, বাট এতিয়া সিচুৱেশ্যনটো চোৱা যে অলপ যদি বৰষুণ নাই একো নাই ৰ'দটো কেনেকা গৰম হয়. So that affects the food habit and food security of Assam also, right? So hey অসম বুলিয়ে নহয়, তুমি সেম এৰিয়া তুমি দিল্লীত চোৱা, দিল্লীত ৰিসেন্টলি বহুত বৰষুণ হৈছে. It is said that in say 50 years বহুত বেছি বৰষুণ হৈছে, right? So these are the effect of, not only it is a global warming is a you can say is a small term. The bigger term is climate change. You have to talk about it, guys. You have to talk about it, है ना? चल. One second. Yeah. The problems discussed in the article: global warming is not merely an increase in temperature; it has triggered a chain reaction, and consequences are recurrent drought, aberrant rainfall, sea level rise, with the submergence of coastal areas, increased UV radiation due to ozone depletion. They can devastate a nation like Japan also. Some sort of, you can say, flood condition. Even the cyclone are coming very frequently these days. The massive cyclone devastate a nation like Japan, America to Haiti. In America also, in Canada also, recently have heard about that 50 degrees Celsius happen in the Canada and America's few regions, right? Why it is happening? 200 people died in that because of that temperature, right? They are not used to it. Canada, yaar. Keneka jaga, right? So then, over 90% of global food production comes from less than 30 food crops, according to article, right? Climate change is nothing new. It happened actually. It happened in ancient times. If you read in the history also, it happened in 10,000 BC also. Some even speculates that speculates, I'm not saying it is right. Indus Valley civilization, the Harappa Mohenjo-daro, why the decline? Because of climate change. Some people say that Saraswati River dried out because of climate change. Some say it is a speculation. In history, optional history, you will read about these things. These are speculations. But in 10,000 BC, around 10,000 BC, the climate change phenomena can be seen. But climate change is not new. But the rapid change of climate because of human intervention is causing major effect to the human as well as the whole earth actually. With the change of seasons, there is a climate change, right? Nobel laureate and former US President Al Gore has commented, man-made climate change has reached such a stage that no technology can undo that. Please remember, please, I am saying please remember that statement of Al Gore. When you are writing some answer about climate change, you can use this quote as a quote. You can say that in some cases, you can say the former US President Al Gore has commented that man-made climate change has reached such a stage that no technology can undo that. Climate change answer writing, you can definitely use that statement. Okay, then it is a foregone conclusion that the root cause of global warming is increased carbon dioxide emission due to fossil fuel burning, but that was necessarily for industrialization and economic growth. Today, most developed and developing countries are reluctant to reduce greenhouse gas emissions on the contention that it will affect economic growth. When capitalism capitalism is at the peak, they won't consider the climate change issue because that will reduce their economic growth. Right? Let's let's move. Then the agriculture and food security since the 1960s, the agriculture is primarily dependent on handful of genetically improved varieties called HYVs. And see, HYVs, high yield varieties, that was introduced in 1960s, and in India it was introduced in around 1966, right? So then you have to read about HYVs in geography also, right? How green revolution affected India. Okay, how green revolution affected India, how there is a train in Rajasthan, sorry, and in Gujarat and Rajasthan area, there is a train called Cancer Express, right? How it is called a Cancer Express, what are the reasons of behind it, behind the Cancer Express, and that actually the Cancer Express leads to a cancer hospital, right? I'm just giving a brief about it. You will read it in the geography. In geography, when you read about the HIV, then also you will read about the green revolution, how green revolution affected these areas, the Punjab, Haryana areas, right? So Cancer Express, because of the very much use of the high yield varieties and as well as the insecticides and pesticides, right? And various maximum use of NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, yes. Right? So then, but it has caused the extinction of thousands of local varieties with climate resilient qualities. We have talked about the alien species or invasive species in recent discussion also. Net result is negative impact on the food production, availability, and food security. During the heyday means that means they are saying the good time of green revolution in 1984, the global food production was 1649 million tons. The per capita grain available was 346 kilogram per person per year. Then, but in 1996, the production increased to 1820 million ton, but the per capita grains availability dropped to 315 from 346 per person per year. It is clear that the ever increasing population is negating any positive development in agriculture productivity, right? Environmental degradation, then shrinkage of arable land, water resources, etc., are other threats to food security. According to the eminent expert Klaus Lesinger, the developing countries must double their food production by 2030, 2040 to feed their growing population, right? But that appears to be an unattainable target. Recently, did you heard about that Noida, in Noida city near Delhi, the Noida? Please, can you tell me the full form of Noida? It's fine. It's fine. I will tell you about it. Then Noida, uh, two uh, tall buildings, that means almost 18 to 20 story buildings, were demolished, right? And recently, in very recent news articles also, they're saying that Noida becoming a ghost city. See, population expansion is happening. I'm not denying it, but with time, it is reducing also. When there are various, rules and regulations, there hum do hamare do type, and then hum do hamare ek, then one child policy, two child policy. These policies are reducing the globe population also, right? Due to then the ISRO chairman UR Rao is of the opinion that due to climatic aberration, global food production will decline by 20% by around 2040. soil erosion, desertification, salinization, groundwater depletion, soil pollution, etc. are already creating havoc with agriculture. Agriculture লগত এইবিলাকে এনে problem create কৰি আছে মানে তোমাৰ ধৰি লোৱা agriculture মানে অলৰেডি এগ্ৰিকালচাৰে এইবিলাক প্ৰব্লেমৰ কাৰণে মানে এগ্ৰিকালচাৰটো প্ৰব্লেম হৈয়ে আছে ৰাইট সয়েল ইৰোজন desertification salinization groundwater depletion soil pollution then বাকি আৰুতো আছেই ৰাইট ফাৰ্মাৰ্স ইনকাম আছে এগ্ৰিকালচাৰ কিয় আমি এনেও নেক্সট জেনাৰেশ্যনে ৰাইট নেক্সট জেনাৰেশ্যনে ফাৰ্মিং বা এগ্ৰিকালচাৰ কিমাননো মানুহে বা নেক্সট জেনাৰেশ্যনে কিমাননো আমাৰ এগ্ৰিকালচাৰটো এজ এ প্ৰফেশ্যন ল'ব খোজে ৰাইট নোখোজে ফাৰ্ষ্ট মানে তোমাৰ ধৰি লোৱা খেতি বাতি কৰিব নোখোজো আমি হয় নে নাই তো সেনেকা যদি হয় হেতুতো এটা মেজৰ প্ৰব্লেম আছেই প্লাছ তোমাৰ ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জো এটা ইছ্যু এটা ক্ৰিয়েট কৰিছে হয় নে নাই তো সেইটো বস্তু ইট ইজ এ ভেৰি বিগ কনচাৰ্ণ ফৰ আছ মই এই দুটা কিয় দিছোঁ লাষ্টৰ ৰিভিউ বিকজ টু give you an idea about these things. What is happening? Climate change is real. Severe drought hits Assam's wet regions. মই সেইটো কাৰণে অলপতে এক্সাম্পল দিছিলোঁ ৰাইট এণ্ড দিছ ইজ দ্য আৰ্টিকল অফ 30th July 2020 ৰাইট ডাউন টু আৰ্থ যদি টাইম পোৱা কেতিয়াবা পঢ়িবা দ্য আৰ্টিকলছ আৰ ভেৰি গুড এণ্ড দেট উইল হেল্প ইন ইউৰ এনভাইৰনমেণ্ট এণ্ড ইকলজি অলছ' মই কোৱা নাই গোটেই পঢ়া বাট আৰ্টিকলছ কেতিয়াবা যদি পোৱা ৰিলেটেড আৰ্টিকলছ পঢ়িবা it will enhance your knowledge okay then it is the news the climate change is real severe drought hits Assam's wet regions ঠিক আছে সেইটো এটা then কৈছিলে climate change and the sinking island states in the Pacific তাৰ মানে যিবিলাক মা island country আছে ন they are having problems due to climate change কিছুমানৰ এটা recently এটা report আহিছিলে যে Indonesia in 2015 the maximum part of Indonesia land will go under the water right that was the news then Japan is having problem then Maldives have been problem that the country will go below the water level right so these are some problems the countries are facing hey, good evening yeah right New Okla Industrial Development Authority yeah exactly I'm very happy that you answered yeah that is the full form of Noida. Okay, full form of Noida. Good. Very good. I love it. Yeah. Then the today's prelims practice questions. You can practice these questions with at class. The answers are there. Okay. Then the mains practice question also. While there are ongoing efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and restrict global warming to below 2 degree centigrade or even below 1 degree centigrade there are also efforts to help us live in world where average global temperature are rising right so this is the article you can also see the answer framework here okay with that we have our UGC net and JRF online coaching is going on so that is a 3-month course okay so with that I will be ending this class okay I hope you guys like this video okay so thank you very much.